The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with voices. Thousands of alien delegates sat in their floating chairs, their glowing eyes fixed on the center stage. They were from hundreds of worlds, each proud of their place in the galaxy. But one word always brought laughter. One word turned the hall into noise. That word was Earth. Whenever Earth was mentioned, the delegates laughed, hissed, or shook their heads. To them, Earth was nothing but a myth. A bedtime story told to scare younglings. Humans, one alien snorted, its long jaws clicking. They never existed. Only fools believe such tales. Another, with shimmering silver skin, added, legends say humans fought like monsters. But no records exist. No proof. Earth is only a ghost planet. The crowd agreed, their voices rising like waves of scorn. And in the back of the chamber, a single human sat in silence. His name was James Carter. His dark uniform carried no badge, no symbol of a world. His eyes were calm, but sharp, as if he had been waiting for this moment all his life. No one in the hall knew who he truly was. To them, he was just a quiet representative from a small, unimportant sector. But James carried a secret deeper than any of them could imagine. The council leader, a massive creature with 4 glowing horns, raised its voice. Let us end these foolish claims. Earth was never real. The humans are nothing but shadows. Their stories are lies to frighten the weak. Laughter filled the air again. The sound echoed like thunder. But then, a voice broke the noise. James Carter stood up. He did not shout. He did not tremble. His words were steady, almost calm. You are wrong. The hall froze. Thousands of eyes turned toward him. No one expected this human-looking delegate to speak. James continued, his tone quiet but sharp enough to cut through the silence. Earth is real. Humans are real. And the galaxy will see the proof soon. For a moment, no one moved. Then the chamber erupted in even louder laughter. Proof, one alien mocked, its tongue flicking like a whip. You dare speak of proof? Another hissed, do you think one man's words can bring back a dead myth? But James did not flinch. He stared at them with cold determination. You laugh because you are afraid. You know the stories. You know what humans did. And you pray that those stories are false. The council leader slammed its staff on the ground. Enough. This assembly will not waste time on ghost worlds. Sit down, delegate, before you embarrass yourself further. James slowly sat, but his eyes never left the leader. His silence was heavier than any scream. The aliens thought the matter was over. To them, Earth was still a joke. But deep inside, a seed of doubt had been planted. His calm confidence unsettled them. Why would someone claim such a thing unless they truly believed it? As the meeting ended, whispers spread across the hall. Delegates leaned toward each other. What if he is telling the truth? Impossible. Earth was destroyed before our time. But what if something survived? James walked out of the chamber without another word. His footsteps were steady, his face unreadable. But in his mind, one thought burned like fire, the time has come. Outside, waiting in the shadows, stood 3 figures. A woman with sharp eyes, Sarah Miller, the best pilot from the old fleets. A tall, broad man with grease on his hands, David Ross, an engineer who could rebuild engines from scrap. And a strategist with a mind sharper than any blade, Mark Daniels. They had heard the council's laughter too. But unlike the aliens, they did not laugh. They nodded to James. Did they believe you? Sarah asked. James gave a faint smile. They don't have to believe me. They only need to hear the words. Now the galaxy is listening. David adjusted the tool pack on his belt. So, it begins. Yes, James said. His voice was calm, but his eyes carried fire. It begins. The four humans walked down the dim corridor, leaving the glittering council behind. They were few, and the galaxy thought them weak. But they carried something far stronger than numbers. They carried truth. And soon, the galaxy would learn that Earth was not a ghost. Earth was waiting. The council chamber was far behind them now, but the sound of alien laughter still echoed in James Carter's mind. It was not anger that burned inside him. It was something colder. Something sharper. As he and his team walked through the metallic corridors of the station, Sarah Miller broke the silence. "They don't believe you," she said. "They think Earth is a fairy tale." James gave a small nod. "Good. The less they believe, the more unprepared they'll be." Mark Daniels, the strategist, adjusted his dark coat and smirked. "So, are we finally going to show them?" James stopped in the middle of the hall. His eyes met theirs. "Yes. Tonight." The team moved quickly. They avoided crowded passages and slipped into service tunnels where only maintenance drones moved. They were careful. The council was always watching, and spies were everywhere. If anyone discovered their secret too soon, everything would be lost. David Ross, the engineer, tapped a small console on the wall. The panel opened with a hiss, revealing an old, hidden passage. Dust filled the air, proof that no one had used it for decades. "This way," David whispered. The group entered the tunnel, their footsteps echoing softly. The air smelled of rust and age. The tunnel sloped downward, deeper and deeper, until the bright halls of the station were nothing but a memory. At last, they reached a heavy door sealed with ancient locks. Symbols of Earth were carved faintly into the metal marks that only humans would recognize. James placed his hand on the panel. A small light scanned his palm. The door trembled, then slowly opened. What lay beyond stole even Sarah's breath. It was a vast chamber, hidden beneath the station itself. And inside it rested a ship. Not just any ship. A warship. Its black hull shimmered in the dim light, like the surface of a midnight ocean. Faded lines of blue and silver marked its sides, the old crest of Earth. It had been hidden here for generations, waiting in silence like a sleeping beast. Sarah whispered, almost afraid to speak. "It's still here." David placed a hand on the hull, his fingers brushing the cold metal. "Built before the silence. Maintained in secret. She's waiting for us." Mark Daniels let out a low whistle. If the aliens saw this, they'd choke on their laughter. James stepped forward. His eyes scanned the massive ship, his expression unreadable. "This ship is proof. Not just of Earth's past, but of our strength. Once we take her into the stars, no one will be able to deny us." They moved quickly, preparing the vessel. David powered the old systems. Sparks flickered. Engines hummed. Lights began to glow across the warship's frame, like a heartbeat returning after long silence. Sarah climbed into the pilot's seat. Her hands danced over the controls, testing each system. The screens came alive with green signals. Engines ready. Shields functional. Weapons, not perfect, but enough. Mark studied the tactical board. "Enough to scare anyone who tries to stop us." As the ship awakened, James opened a secure storage case. Inside was an old flag, blue, white, and red. The flag of Earth. He carried it with care to the center of the bridge, where he placed it in a holder. The colors looked bright against the dark walls of the ship. For a moment, silence filled the room. Each of them stared at the flag, and their hearts tightened. "This," James said softly, "is who we are. They call us a myth. Let's remind them we are more than a story." Suddenly, an alarm flashed on the console. Sarah frowned. "We're being scanned. Someone knows we're here." Mark cursed under his breath. "Spies." The council must have planted trackers near the tunnels. James stayed calm. It doesn't matter. Let them see. The galaxy has doubted us long enough. On the edge of the station, hidden drones transmitted images to alien networks. Those images showed the black warship rising from its cradle, glowing with power. The crest of Earth shone across its hull. Across the galaxy, in places where Earth was only a whisper, aliens stared at the broadcast in disbelief. Some froze. Some panicked. Some laughed nervously, but their laughter carried fear. That symbol, one alien muttered. It matches the stories. Impossible. Earth was destroyed, another argued. But deep down, they all felt the same shiver. The humans had something real. Something powerful. The warship lifted into the dark void, engines blazing. For the first time in centuries, an Earth vessel returned to the stars. James stood on the bridge, his voice calm, but carrying iron. Send the signal. Let them all hear it. Sarah pressed a key, and a simple transmission spread like wildfire across the galaxy. This is Commander James Carter. We are from Earth. We are back. Silence followed the message, but it was not the silence of disbelief. It was the silence of fear. Because myths do not send transmissions. Legends do not rise from hidden hangars. Only the living do. And Earth was living. The black warship cut through the endless dark of space, its engines glowing like blue fire. For centuries, no ship had carried the crest of Earth. Now it blazed across the stars, daring the galaxy to deny its truth. On the bridge, Sarah Miller kept her eyes on the controls. Navigation set. We're heading toward the Forgotten Sector. Mark Daniels raised an eyebrow. The one with ghost signals. Yes, Sarah replied. Old transmissions. Faint, but still there. If anything remains of Earth's legacy, we'll find it there. James Carter stood at the center of the bridge, his hands folded behind his back. His expression was calm, but his voice carried steel. That sector will be our first proof. Once we broadcast what we find, no one will laugh again. David Ross leaned over the engineer's console. Engines stable. Weapons ready. Shields strong enough to hold unless we run into a full fleet. Mark gave him a sharp look. Don't jinx it. But Mark's warning came too late. Alarms flashed across the bridge. Sarah frowned, tapping the screen. We've been intercepted. Incoming ships, 6 of them. Council patrol? James asked. Sarah shook her head. Her voice dropped. Not Council. Something worse. Imperial. The name sent a chill through the room. The Xeric Empire. Ruthless, cold, and hungry for control. They ruled dozens of systems with iron claws. If the Empire had responded to the human signal, it meant one thing: they wanted the secret silenced. Within moments, 6 alien warships appeared on the radar. Their sharp, blade-like designs glowed red in the darkness. Each ship was bigger than the human vessel, but slower, heavier. A voice cracked across the comms. Deep, metallic, filled with arrogance. Unknown vessel. You are transmitting false signals. Cease at once or be destroyed. Mark smirked, shaking his head. There it is. The Empire doesn't even want the galaxy to wonder about Earth. James stepped forward, his voice steady. This is Commander James Carter of Earth. We do not run. We do not hide. If you wish to test the truth, come closer. For a moment, there was silence. Then the Empire ships began to move slow, confident, circling like predators. David muttered under his breath, 6 against 1. Odds are terrible. Sarah smiled faintly, her hands firm on the controls. Good thing we're not playing with odds. The alien ships opened fire. Red beams slashed across the void, lighting the darkness. Explosions shook against the human warship's shields. The crew braced themselves. "Shields at 70%, David reported. "We can't take too much of this." James raised his hand calmly. "Return fire. Aim carefully. Make every shot count." Sarah's fingers danced over the weapons panel. Blue lances of energy shot from the human ship, striking the nearest enemy vessel. The alien warship shuddered, sparks spraying from its hull. Mark leaned forward. "Not destroyed, but shaken. They weren't ready for our weapons." The enemy regrouped, tightening formation. Their commander's voice thundered again. "You are fools. Myths cannot fight. Myths cannot bleed. You are nothing but insects in stolen metal." James's eyes hardened. "Then let us remind you how insects bite." Sarah spun the ship sharply to the left, diving between two alien vessels. Their heavy guns tried to track her, but the human ship was too fast. Mark shouted, "Fire on their weak side." The ship unleashed another barrage. This time, the blast pierced through the alien vessel's engine. A ball of fire erupted, and the warship split apart in silence. The crew's eyes widened. One alien warship destroyed. David grinned. 5 left. But the others pressed harder, surrounding them. Red beams tore across the shields again. Alarms screamed. Sparks rained down on the bridge. Sarah's hands never left the controls. She pushed the ship into maneuvers the heavy alien vessels could never match, rolling, darting, diving like a predator bird. Mark directed fire with calm precision. "Strike the lead ship. Hit their core." Another blue lance cut through the dark. The lead alien warship cracked in half, flames spilling into the void. 2 down. The remaining 4 ships hesitated, circling slower now. For the first time, doubt crept into their movements. The Empire commander's voice was no longer calm. It was edged with fury. "Impossible. You should not exist. You cannot fight us." James Carter answered coldly, "And yet, here we stand." The humans fought on, weaving through the larger ships, striking where they were weakest. Every maneuver, every blast carried precision born of desperation and pride. Finally, the Empire ships broke formation. Their engines roared as they retreated into the black. The human crew sat in silence for a long moment, staring at the empty stars where the enemy had fled. Sarah exhaled slowly. "We just sent the first message. Loud and clear." Mark nodded, a grim smile on his face. "The galaxy thought we were a myth. Now they know myths can fight back." James turned toward the stars ahead, his expression steady. This was only the beginning. The first proof. Next, we show them more. David adjusted the controls. "Where to, Commander?" James's eyes burned with determination. "Forward. To the heart of the signals. To the truth of Earth." The ship surged forward, engines blazing. Behind them, whispers spread across the galaxy of humans, of Earth, of warships that should not exist. The myth was no longer a story. The myth was alive. The black warship drifted silently through the stars, scars glowing on its hull from the last battle. The crew was tired, but their spirits burned brighter than ever. For the first time in centuries, humans had stood against a galactic power and won. On the bridge, Sarah Miller checked the systems. Shields at 50%. Hull damage minor. Weapons, some are down, but still usable. David Ross wiped the sweat from his brow. "I'll need a full day to repair everything. Maybe 2. Mark Daniels leaned back in his chair, his eyes sharp. "We won't get 2 days. The Empire won't let this go. They'll send more ships. Bigger ones." James Carter stood tall at the center, his gaze fixed on the stars ahead. "Then we'll be ready. The galaxy must see we're not just alive, we're strong." Before anyone could respond, the comms crackled. A transmission came through, not from the Empire, but from frightened traders. Their voices trembled. To any ship listening, beware. The Empire is moving fleets. They're hunting something. They say it's the ghost of Earth. Sarah gave a sharp laugh, though her voice carried tension. Ghost? That's what they're calling us now. James didn't smile. Let them call us what they want. The important thing is they believe. Moments later, the sensors blared again. Sarah's face hardened. Multiple contacts. Not 6 this time. 20. The crew froze. 20 warships. A full strike force. David muttered, "This is suicide." But James's eyes did not waver. No. This is history. The Empire fleet appeared like a storm of steel. Their blood-red lights painted the void, their guns already locked on target. At the center of the enemy formation was a colossal battleship, larger than a city. Its shadow stretched across the stars, dwarfing the human vessel. The alien commander's voice boomed through the comms, full of rage. "Human pretender. You dared humiliate us. This time, there will be no escape. You will be erased." James spoke with quiet defiance. "We don't run. Fire when ready." The Empire fired first. Dozens of beams cut through the void, slamming into the human ship's shields. The bridge shook violently. Sparks burst from the ceiling. "Shields at 30%. David shouted. "Evasive maneuvers." James ordered. Sarah's hands flew over the controls. The warship twisted and rolled, dodging blasts by inches. Alien fire lit up the darkness, chasing the lone ship like wolves chasing prey. But this prey had teeth. "Target the lead cruiser," Mark commanded. Weapons roared to life. Blue lances streaked across the battlefield, striking the cruiser's weak flank. Explosions ripped through its hull. In seconds, the cruiser split apart, scattering debris across the stars. "One down," Sarah said through gritted teeth. 19 remained. The battle raged on. The human ship darted between massive enemies, too quick and clever for their heavy guns. Each strike was surgical, aimed at engines, weapons, weak points. Another ship fell. Then another. But the human vessel was bleeding too. Shields failed. Warning lights flashed red. Smoke filled the bridge. David slammed a panel. "We can't keep this up. One more hit and..." A massive blast struck the ship, throwing everyone to the floor. The lights flickered. Systems screamed in alarm. For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then James slowly rose to his feet. His uniform was torn, his face marked with soot, but his eyes blazed. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "This is not where we fall. This is where we rise. They think humans are myths. Let's show them the fire that kept Earth alive." The crew looked at him and something inside them awakened. Their fear melted into steel. Their exhaustion turned into fury. Sarah pulled the ship into a daring dive straight toward the enemy battleship. Alarms screamed as they closed the distance. Mark shouted, "They think we're crazy." Sarah grinned. "Good." At point-blank range, James gave the order. "All weapons. Fire." Every cannon, every launcher, every hidden system unleashed its power at once. Blue light flooded the void, slamming into the massive battleship. Its shields shattered. Its armor cracked. Fire erupted across its body. The alien commander screamed through the comms, but his words were lost in static. The colossal vessel shuddered and then exploded in a storm of light. For a heartbeat, the battlefield went silent. The remaining alien ships froze, their formation broken. They had never seen a single vessel destroy a flagship. Mark whispered, almost in disbelief, "We did it." But James shook his head. "No. We proved it. Fear spread across the enemy fleet. One by one, their engines flared. They turned and retreated into the endless dark, leaving the human warship alone among the wreckage. On the bridge, the crew sat in stunned silence. Their ship was damaged, scarred, barely holding together. But they had won. David finally spoke, his voice soft. One ship, against 20. And we lived. Sarah's hands trembled slightly, but her smile was fierce. Not just lived. We made them run. James stood tall, his voice steady and cold. Now the galaxy knows. We are not myths. We are fire. And fire does not die, it spreads. The black warship drifted forward, through the ruins of enemy ships, its crest shining against the stars. Across the galaxy, whispers turned into fear. The myth of Earth was no longer silent. The fire had awakened. The black warship floated through the silent wreckage of the battle. Burned hulls of enemy ships drifted around it like broken bones. The crew was battered, their ship damaged, but their eyes carried fire. They had faced the Empire's full force. And they had survived. On the bridge, David Ross wiped the sweat and soot from his face. Engines, holding. Barely. We can move, but not far. Sarah Miller checked her console. Weapons almost dry. Shields nearly gone. Mark Daniels leaned back, his voice rough but proud. Doesn't matter. The galaxy saw what happened today. The fire is lit. They can't laugh anymore. James Carter stood at the center, staring into the stars. His voice was quiet, but sharp. The galaxy still doubts. A battle is proof of strength. But they must see more. They must see Earth. The others turned to him in silence. The word carried weight, like thunder rolling in their hearts. Sarah frowned. Commander, Earth is gone. No one has seen it for centuries. James looked at her. His eyes burned with determination. Gone? No. Hidden. Scarred, maybe. But alive. And we will show them. He gave the order. Set course for Solution Home. The warship turned, engines roaring weakly but steady. The journey was long, through dead sectors where few ships traveled. Old wrecks floated like ghosts. Signals of forgotten wars whispered in the static. Finally, after days in the dark, the ship emerged into a lonely system. A yellow sun burned in the distance. Planets circled it, silent and ancient. And then they saw it. Blue. White. Green. Earth. The crew fell silent. For a moment, no one breathed. Sarah's voice cracked. It's beautiful. David whispered, his eyes wide. I thought it was only stories. Oceans, mountains, clouds, it's real. Mark exhaled slowly. For once, the strategist had no clever words. Only awe. James stood tall, his heart pounding. He had seen it before, but each time, it was like the first. Earth scarred, yes, but alive. The cradle of humanity, the forgotten heart of legends. Transmit, James ordered softly. Sarah pressed the command. Across the galaxy, every major channel lit up. Alien leaders, traders, soldiers, and civilians all received the same transmission. The image of Earth filled their screens. Blue oceans stretched like endless jewels. Green forests covered the land. White clouds drifted across the sky. Children laughed in the streets of rebuilt cities. Farmers worked fields. People lived, breathed, and thrived. The galaxy went silent. For centuries, they had called Earth a myth. A story. A ghost. Now, the truth shone in front of them. Unstoppable. Undeniable. On one world, a council member dropped its staff, eyes wide with fear. It cannot be. On another, An Empire general clenched his claws, rage twisting into dread. If Earth lives, then humans rise. The transmission continued. Not just images of Earth, but voices. Human voices. Singing, laughing, speaking in dozens of languages. The sound of a people alive. Finally, James stepped into the frame. His face was calm, his uniform torn from battle, but his eyes carried the weight of history. "You said we were a myth," he said, his voice steady. "You mocked our name. You erased our story. But here we are." His words echoed through every world, every ship, every station. Earth is alive. Humanity endures. And we do not kneel. Remember this day. You can call us ghosts. You can call us fire. But never again will you call us weak. He raised his hand. Behind him, the Earth's flag unfurled, blue, white, and red, shining against the stars. The galaxy trembled. On the bridge, silence followed. Sarah wiped her eyes, though she tried to hide it. David stared at the screens, his chest heavy with pride. Mark finally broke the silence. "They can never erase us now." James nodded slowly. "No. The myth is over. The truth has begun." Outside, Earth glowed in the darkness, a beacon in the void. The warship hovered above its home world, scarred but unbroken, carrying proof stronger than any weapon. Across the galaxy, fear spread like fire. If one ship could destroy fleets, if Earth was real, if humans were back, then what would happen next? No one knew. But one thing was certain. The myth of Earth was dead. The age of humanity had returned.